Hello, brothers and sisters. Welcome back to the book of Proverbs, where today we move on to chapter 4, where the father figure will not call in the big guns, the guest preacher. Be like inviting MacArthur or John Piper to come preach in your church. And yet his message can be very similar to the same the father's been giving us. So why? Why bring in the big guns? That's what we want to try to figure out. We're going to look at, again, the poetic language, the imagery, the repetition. We're not trying to figure out the hidden meaning, but just seeing what is the text telling us. So, let's try to discover that together. He starts this chapter by saying, "Hear, O sons, a father's instruction, and be attentive that you may gain insight." And right away, this is different. Because we've had chapter after chapter where he just says, "My son," singular. It's almost like he's turning now to the whole audience, from this one-on-one talk to everybody else. Sons, daughters, all of you receive this father's instruction. This is for everyone. And the other chapters were as well, but there's a sense where this is really for all of us. So things are already different. He calls us through these active verbs of hearing and being attentive. It's a bit like the word obedience in Greek. The word obedience is not just do begrudgingly something. There's a sense of you're actively trying to receive the rules so you can do the rules. Yes, Father, tell me what to do. And there's a sense, it's the same thing here. You don't just want to hear it, yeah, okay, I'll do that. You want to be attentive. Yes, please explain to me how to live. This instruction, which speak of moral insight, of moral instruction of life. And that will give us insight. Perceive or know. That's what the word gain means. Perceive or know insight. You'll know how to think. Which brings us all the way back to the beginning of the book, where the author told us that the whole point of the book is not just to give rules for rules' sake, but so we can think God's thoughts after him. Reason in a way God would reason life. And here's he's just repeating the same thing, but not to everybody else. Come be attentive to what I have to say, that way you can think rightly. But how can he say that though? Well, he's going to explain it. It's because, "For I give you good precepts. Do not forsake my teaching." So from the positive command of being attentive and being receptive to the negative command, don't forsake it. Push it away, turn from it. This instruction, these commands, these rules. And how will they give you an active insight, a right way of thinking? Because they're good precepts. They're good commands. They're good for you. God's law, God's commandments are good for us. We're made to live according to that because we're made in his image. When you realize that the law of God is not just a book of rules, it is an expression of God's holiness itself, and we were made to live just like him, you want that then. You want to live according to it. It's at this point that he's going to step away and then the guest preachers speak up. He says, "When I was a son with my father, tender, the only one in the sight of my mother, he taught me and said to me, 'Let your heart hold fast my words. Keep my commandments and live.'" So if this is Solomon, then this is Daddy David he's talking about. But why bring up Daddy David and Mother Bathsheba? Why? Well, don't miss that word tender. It means to be a soft tongue. Because you don't really understand or know the right things. By just using that simple word, he's making it clear that it was in a moment of his life where he didn't know. He needed to be taught. It's almost like he's saying, that's you too. You should recognize yourself as the one who needs to be taught. And my father taught me. And then he adds this idea of the one and only of his mother. Well, yes, Solomon was the only son of Bathsheba. Why mention it though? Why speak of this intimate one-on-one relation with just him and his mom? Because there was no other child. Well, as we're going to move along, I think we're going to be able to see what's the whole thing with the mother. Especially that he doesn't mention her after that. Because he says, he taught me. Even though he speaks of his mother, he doesn't say they, he says he. Well, that's not correct, and you'll see what I mean. And it's interesting to note that what the Daddy David told him is the same thing he's been telling us. So again, why bring up somebody who said the same thing? And he talks about hold fast, keep my commandments. He's been saying that chapter after chapter. Hold on to what I'm teaching you. Keep it close. Put it into practice. Live it out. Take it seriously. And here she's saying, my dad told me the same thing. Why is he telling us that? Could it be that he's showing us that what he's saying isn't just from him? He learned it from the generation before, which also got it from the generation before. God made it clear from the beginning that his law, his teachings, commandments, and precepts were something we passed on generation to generation. Nothing, not new stuff in it, just a repetition of God said this, so we live this out. And then you teach that to your kids, and they teach that to their kids. Law for law, word for word. And here's this father figure saying, same thing happened to me. Word for word, I'm just repeating it to you now. We're seeing it's the same thing. As we move along, we'll see it's the same thing that he taught me. He says, get wisdom, get insight. Do not forget. Do not turn away from the words of my mouth. Again, the insistence of chasing after wisdom, we've seen it chapter after chapter after chapter. What the father was telling us is what his father told him. Again, generation after generation. This comes from of old. To get really means to purchase. We saw last time this notion of how wisdom is greater than silver and gold and all these riches. Well, let's say you have these riches. Well, use them to get the wisdom, because that's more important. Get rid of that riches to get more of that wisdom and insight. Negatively, don't forget, don't turn away. For positively, to get purchase, put every effort to receive it. Negatively, make sure you don't push it away, turn away from it, or live not according to it. The words of my mouth are the same thing as the notion of instruction and teaching. But what is this word of his mouth, though? What is this teaching and instruction? It is wisdom. And I will note that wisdom is a feminine noun. Do you know of that? As he adds, do not forsake her, and she will keep you. Love her, and she will guard you. Now, at first, the negative command, don't forsake her, sounds kind of weird, because it's not a person. You can't forsake a thing. But then when he talks about loving her, now that's even weirder. Until you go back to the mother, who hasn't spoken up yet, right? This mother in this intimate relationship, the only son of my mother. You can't help but make that deep connection with wisdom and this relation with the mother. That's the point. Loving wisdom, not forsaking wisdom, is supposed to be equal to, resembling like in an imagery way, this relation with a mother. It should be that intimate, that connective. And that's what's going to keep you and guard you. Keep you on the right path. Help you go forward no matter what. Really, we see a relational aspect with wisdom. It's not just head knowledge. It's not just instruction per se. There's something living and intimate with this. Yet it's all about precepts and commandments and laws. Don't forget that. Continuing this discussion of lady wisdom or mother wisdom, he then adds, the beginning of wisdom is this: get wisdom. And whatever you get insight. Isn't the words of Daddy David similar and yet different than Father Solomon? Solomon says, the beginning of wisdom is the fear of the Lord. Is David contradicting him? No. But he's starting at a very same basic idea. What you need to get to be the wisest of all is wisdom itself. See, that's the point. The beginning of it all, to be wise and thinking rightly, is to focus on getting this wisdom, getting this insight, making that your priority. You want to think rightly? Then you make that your priority. I want to think rightly. I want to live according to God's holy way. Make that your priority. Again, build off the precepts, the laws, and the commandments. So no, he's not contradicting Solomon. Solomon simply added to the mix the reality that wisdom itself will start with the notion that it is a fear of the Lord because it's connected to God himself. God is wisdom. We're seeing the relationship between this wisdom and this intimacy with God. We're seeing this connection between getting the rules and the commands and having this intimacy with God. But like I said, as we continue along with this notion of lady wisdom or mother wisdom, Solomon would also add this. Prize her. Prize her highly, and she will exalt you. She will honor you if you embrace her. Again, sounds kind of impossible when you talk about wisdom itself, but if you're talking about mother wisdom, a relationship with a person, and to praise her, especially to embrace her, makes sense. I hope you're getting where I'm trying to bring you. And I hope you're seeing here the connection that Solomon is showing us, or Daddy David, to be precise. These are still his words, actually. Because he said that you praise her, you lift her up, and in the flip side, she'll lift you up. If you embrace her, so make her important and honor her, she'll honor you. So you see there's this reciprocal, you do to her, she do to you type of thing. You make her priority, she'll make your life a priority. You make her you honor her, she'll honor you. There's this beautiful reciprocal love, just like between the father and the son, if I could say it like that. And then we get to these last words of Daddy David, which again will show us the reciprocal nature of this relationship with Lady Wisdom, with Mother Wisdom, as he says this. She will place on your head a graceful garland. She will bestow on you a beautiful crown. You understand that this is about the head. To say that the mind is not involved in understanding and reasoning and walking with God, well, it's false. Because this chase for wisdom will involve the mind, and the mind will be what's going to be put a crown on, this garland on, this honor on. As your mind and heart is involved in understanding God's law and commandment and walking with him, and will it be blessed in it. We saw last night this idea of riches and jewels not being earthly things. That's not the reward of wisdom. And now here we see it again. Because he's using the imagery of a crown and a garland, which was something that was honored and prized. And here he is saying that's what wisdom is going to put on your head. It's an image to show us the true riches is. And it's this greater understanding of how to live in a way according to God. So here's my point. Here's what I'm getting at. We've seen this relational reality between us and wisdom, which is connected to the commands and the laws. We've seen how it's connected back to this relationship with God himself. So we can't talk about how I want to have a relationship with God and I want to follow him. But, laws and commandments, that's for the legalists. No. We just saw that that's part of the intimacy, the relational feeding of this relationship with God. We've seen through the imagery of what the father, Daddy David, has been giving to his son Solomon, and now he's sharing with us. We embrace this theology and doctrine not as just information and instruction for the mind, but as part of the intimacy with our God. the more you know who He is and how the law is an expression of His heart, and when you dive into it, you want it and live according to it. So I invite you to really plunge into God's truth, to have this embrace, this love of divine wisdom, divine instruction, divine commandments. May this motivate us not to run or flee from studying the Bible, theology, doctrine, but to jump in head first, because that's where we find this loving entanglement with our God. I hope I haven't been too poetic in what I've said, but on this note, be blessed.